Welcome to CityScape, our regular podcast featuring people, places, and ideas that impact Livonia.
Live and local. Detroit's #1 news station. News Radio 950 WWJ.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us on this Monday. It's August 3rd, 2020. I'm Tom Jordan.
Good morning. I'm Roberta Jacena.
That is the familiar sound of WWJ Newsradio 950. This month marks the 100th anniversary of the Detroit radio station that is recognized as the pioneer of radio broadcasting in the United States. The Detroit News aired the first radio newscast in August 1920. The newspaper staff used the new technology to broadcast primary election results under the call sign 8MK. Early broadcasts of the radio station featured evening news reports, orchestra music, presentations from political and religious leaders, and provided real-time results from the 1920 World Series. In 1922, the Detroit News radio phone was assigned the call letters WWJ. In 1941, it was assigned the AM frequency 950. The station had a variety of programming throughout its first 5 decades on the air. In the 1970s, with the growth of FM radio, WWJ shifted to its current all-news format. WWJ has also served as a radio flagship station for Detroit sports teams. Today, it remains one of Detroit market's most listened radio stations with its consistent schedule of news, sports, weather, and traffic. Listeners throughout the years became well acquainted with some of WWJ's longtime voices, such as Hugh Downs, Byron McGregor, Sonny Elliott, Mark Champion, and Roberta Jacena. The radio station's news and programming director is Rob Davidek, a longtime Livonia resident who's been involved with youth sports in the community for years. Rob is with us. Thank you for joining us today, Rob.
No problem, Dan. Thanks for having me.
What does it mean to you and the team at WWJ that you represent such an organization that has such a history in Detroit and in the industry?
So I think it really goes to the history, right? From back in 1920 when the first election results came out to every day since then, right? It's about informing listeners and local news, what's happening in your community, what's happening in your neighborhood. And if you think about it, going back then to 1920, that's what it was about. And really today, that's kind of our mantra, right? Live and local, and we're in the now business, I always like to say, of, now news, now traffic, now weather, now sports, now business. So it really is the same, what the thought is back then, right? Let's give information and provide information to listeners. That's what we do today. And history is made every day. And that's what I like to tell our staff. And I think to be part of that history and to deliver that history and the news to our listeners every day and every hour is something we take pride in.
Can you share with us an interesting behind-the-scenes story that led to a WWJ story during your years at the station?
So I tell you what, go back to, everything that's happened, and it's been 20 plus years that I've been here, thankfully, and that's great. And there've been so many stories. And when you set this up, I was thinking, you and I were involved in a story, right? And we were up at Mackinac, and we started talking about, the marijuana was starting to, the proposal was out there. And you had mentioned where, there was some businesses that were talking and looking at warehouses around the city, as well as in parts of Western Wayne County. And really from there, we just kind of took it. And I know Charlie talked with you, but really we took it and he talked with you, but then we went to several other cities and talked about the impact that had. So, today, as I sit there and think about it, that was one that popped into my head. But really every day, we're always thinking about, okay, what is going through your mind? What are going through our listeners' minds? What are they dealing with on a daily basis? And trying to, I always tell people, right, it's about making a phone call, getting information, and then putting that information out to people and our listeners.
Obviously, a lot of technology has come the last 100 years today with mobile devices and various ways videos delivered and such. But why is radio still relevant today?
I think because of, the localization of it, right? I mean, we're right here in the backyard. We have people who live and grew up in Metro Detroit. Some people didn't, right? Some people came from as far away as San Diego and live here now and call the Detroit area home. So I think, a couple of things. One, being in your neighborhood, being local is key. Two is the immediacy of it, right? You're still hearing things as they happen. It's still the quickest way to get information to people, right? And this is nothing against television or newspaper or other medium out there. But for radio, right, if we hear something right now, literally we could walk in the studio and put it on the air, and it's just that fast. So people listening can hear it. And again, what we've went through, right? We've went through COVID. Obviously, we've went through the Black Lives Matter protests that recently and are still going on here and there. But we can take people right to the scene as it's happening, and the immediacy. I think that's why we're still relevant. Today and 100 years later, we'll probably still be, in 100 years, I would think.
The one thing about radio that's always been, that's something someone's told me about, is that how, because you're listening, it adds to your imagination, because you're trying to create a picture in your head of what you're being told. And that is one distinct part of the radio medium.
Yeah, we talk once in a while, we'll bring it up, right? It's theater of the mind, right? What are you saying? It's just not a plain wall, right? It's a wall that could be so high, and it's a color and whatnot. So I think you're right. And we call it theater of the mind. So yeah.
Talk about the challenges in your industry this year with the COVID-19 outbreak.
There have been no challenges. No.
You're alone then.
No, you know what? I tell you what, I think everybody's had it, right? And I know you guys have done it, trying to work from home. Mm-hmm. And so for us, that was the number one thing, is how do you have people who, we didn't want all of our staff coming in to the building. I'm one of the lucky ones. I get to come back in to work. We have about 30% of our workforce in the building right now. But we continue, and knowing, again, what do our listeners expect to hear every morning? So our traffic people are still doing traffic, but they're at home, right? Our morning anchors, Roberta Jacina, she's at home. Jackie in the afternoon is at home. And so that was, and really I give praise to our engineers and our tech team, because they are the ones who gave us the equipment. They put the processes in place and the system in place where, hey, this is how it's going to work. And again, we have to have some people here at the station. But really, challenge A was getting everybody on the air, like we normally do every morning and every afternoon and whatnot. And that's happened. There have been some glitches here and there. And again, it's technology. So things have happened. But I would say, if we knew now what we thought we knew back then, I would say I would give it an A+ because of the job everybody's done. And then the other part is, I think, and again, going back to, it's not just the radio station, but I think it's a lot of businesses, right? The mental health of workers. It's been 4 months, going on 5 months, I think now, where, you can Zoom people in, but there's nothing like that being in person, talking with people. And some of it's not even work, right? It's just, hey, how are you doing? How's your family? And things like that. And somebody has something going on in their life, they can talk to somebody else about it. So I would say that's been a challenge. But again, everybody to me has been great. Our staff here have been out of this world, I think, doing what they've done. I can't praise them and thank them enough for what they've done.
Well, Rob, thank you for joining us today. Congratulations to you and the team at WWJ for reaching this landmark anniversary. We wish you many more years of successful broadcasting and staying on top of what's important here in Detroit.
Dan, always appreciate your help and your promotion of WWJ and your friendship.
So awesome. Thank you. We appreciate everyone for watching this special episode of CityScape. We'll see everybody next time.